Wait.
I literally just...
Yeah, I'm good.
So, demons. I like how I started it, and then you were like...
Oh, wait, were you recording?
Yeah, the second I hit record, you did that.
Oh.
Okay.
That's just a great intro.
Yeah. Honestly, I can't believe we're doing an episode 2. Normally when I do things with my friends, like, especially us four, we'll, like, start doing something, and then we'll just drop it. Like, halfway through.
Like, oh, that was fun.
After
let's
our
never
first,
do it again.
yeah, we're like, first episode, let's never do it again. I'm gonna say a few housekeeping things, first of all, because this is official. We are actually doing this, and we are freaking insane for doing this.
Yep.
So, first off, the website, which, like, nobody will ever look at, most likely, but if anyone does, it's mostly designed by a combination of me, Evelina, and Haley. Katie's done her bio on it, and that's really it, but,
yeah.
We've...
whatever. I've done the YouTube channel, so find me.
Yeah, but I'm the one who uploads everything. So, like, go ahead and check that out. Oh, God, I burped. Another thing... Evelina burped, like, right after me. What the hell? Another thing is, thank you to one little motherfucker out there named Alex.
Yeah.
Who legitimately enjoys our podcast.
I know.
Which I find insane, because he's, like, the person I know that doesn't like anything. And he's like, I love your podcast. And I'm like, so thank you, Alex.
Which means it's probably pretty good. If someone who doesn't like a lot of shit likes
So
it.
this, you know who this episode is dedicated to?
Alex.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also going to half dedicate it to Cooper, because Cooper watched the first episode, like, almost immediately after it went up on SoundCloud, and messaged me about it. He's like, oh my god, I just watched this, and, like, you did good, Danny. You did good. Kind of sounding like, you did good, pig. You did good. Like, that quote, but... I don't understand how he puts up with me. But, yeah, so this episode kind of goes out to them. If anyone else who watches this has a specific murder they want us to talk about, has a story that has one of their stories that they want us to talk about, you can email us at sodemonspodcast@gmail.com. Everything's
It's
lowercase.
linked on our pod SoundCloud.
Yeah, and I'll probably link it on all the
and
episodes.
on the website, and on the About page on the YouTube channel.
Okay. Are we ready? So we have 4 wonderful stories for you all again.
Yes.
And because the way we're doing this is shortest story goes first. Yeah, you were going third.
Yeah. So I was like,
I have the shortest story this time, so let me bring it back and take you all back to Canada, where I was talking about it last time.
You have, like, a obsession with
Canadians.
Canadian murders.
Well, the thing is, Canada is such, it's portrayed as such a nice, lovely country. So,
I think that's why the murders are so,
the murders are so fucked up. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love it. That's why I love it.
But we have another fucked up murder coming at you last.
One that's actually very well known. This one isn't as well known.
Yeah, mine's well known.
So any of you who know this, which is probably Cooper, because I've literally...
Canadians
out there. Any Canadians out there.
Okay, let's just let me get to my damn story. So my story is about a young girl named Jasmine Richardson, also known as the Richardson family murders. Let's crack into this.
Wait, you should have made a pun with what murder weapon she used.
I don't know what... She used a fucking knife. How am I supposed to pun with that?
Let's start with the stab in the dark!
No, let's get to the point.
Okay, let's go.
Let's get to the point! Let's get to the point.
Okay, let me get to my damn story. Okay, so let's start out with her family. She had her parents and her little brother Jacob. Her parents' names were like Mark and Deborah or something.
Generic ass
I
names.
wrote it down, but I forgot it after I wrote it down, and then I deleted it because I'm like, wait, no, this doesn't belong on this slide, and I completely forgot to rewrite it. So, sorry. So, Jasmine was a typical 12-year-old girl growing up in the time of MySpace. So she was very...
That's a bad start.
She was hitting her rebellious age, and so when she was 12, she met her boyfriend at a 2006 punk rock concert. So she went to a punk rock concert and met her boyfriend. You want to hear who her boyfriend is? man named Jeremy Stanky. It's Steinke. Stanky?
Yeah.
Stanky.
Stenky.
He
Yeah,
was
those germs are stanky.
This is literally quoted. He was a self-proclaimed goth and claimed he was a 300-year-old werewolf.
That reminds me of a
She's
video.
12. She's believing this, of course. She's 12.
Sorry.
She's a 12, because she was
12-year-old emo.
she was a perfectly normal 12-year-old girl, and then she met him at this concert, and she started getting really weird. So, when her parents, yes, her parents' names were Mark and Deborah. I just realized I wrote it down somewhere.
Come on.
So when her parents, Mark and Deborah Richardson, found out about it, they were like, no, you can't date this 23-year-old guy. You're 12.
They were being realistic and good parents.
She's 12, and they're literally just being, good parents, because, this guy's a pedophile, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know what the age of consent laws are in Canada.
It's
So-
ain't fucking 12.
Yeah, I highly
I
doubt
would
it's
hope
12,
not.
because it's
I
not
know-
12 anywhere that I know of. I'm not well researched with everything. And so after that, she started joking to a ton of people like, oh, I just want to kill my parents, or me and my boyfriend want to murder our parents. And she'd go on MySpace and post a ton of weird stuff like, yeah, death, murder, kill everyone. Stuff like that. Typical 12-year-old.
Oh.
Which I can actually say.
Welcome to my life.
We literally, I know us three literally did this kind of stuff when we were 13.
Welcome to my life.
Okay, let's get on to the murder, because it did not happen it was a very short thing. So supposedly, her boyfriend killed her parents downstairs, stabbed them both in the chest. As she sat with her little brother who was crying, she covered his ears so he couldn't hear what was happening. And her little brother's 8, and she's sitting on his bed with him as he's crying, and she's covering his
I can't
ears.
hear what's
But
going
the
on.
thing-
I'm blind.
But the thing is, so he doesn't, so he can't hear what's happening.
But he's still seeing everything.
But no, they're downstairs, and he's upstairs in his bedroom, so he
Okay.
can't see what's happening. All he knows is that his sister's sitting with him, and she has a knife behind her, and she's covering his ears as he's, crying. He says, quote, this is exactly quoted, "I'm scared, I'm too young to die."
Was that what he was thinking?
That's what he said. And she, recounted it. Quote, and then she stabbed him in the chest. And then her boyfriend finished him off by slitting his throat.
What
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, she clearly
Inhales.
knew what she was
Boy.
doing, because she covered his ears to, no, you don't need to see or hear the murder of our parents, but then she goes and kills him.
But whoops, psych! You get to see your own death.
But the thing is, would you have rather...
Wait, were his fuck me? Were his ears covered?
Yeah, ears
when
covered.
he was killed?
No, she had it.
She
stabbed
covered
him.
his ears, and then she stabbed him. His ears were not
Okay.
good. But the thing is,
Why did the boyfriend go and slit his throat? Did he
To
not?
finish
die?
it off.
because she must have missed or something, or maybe she couldn't finish her off her little brother, because she clearly had some knowledge of what she was doing. That's my little brother.
If
Speaking
you
of little
heard
brother,
that.
she had clear knowledge of what she was doing by covering his ears, showing that she was cognitive the whole time. She knew what she was doing. The bodies, this is how they were discovered. They were discovered through a window by a 6-year-old boy. A 6-year-old boy who was walking by looked through one of the windows and saw just, people sprawled on the ground in, blood. And
Okay.
I think this was, a day or two after, so it wasn't too long. And then, originally they had thought she was kidnapped. Jasmine, because she wasn't there, they thought, oh, someone broke in and killed her family and kidnapped her.
Yeah.
Which is a logical thing for police to think. So people posted her missing posters around everywhere, and they were like, have you seen her? And then they looked at the evidence and realized she was one of the killers.
Yeah.
They were found 100 miles away, I presume, at, the boyfriend's house.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
Stupid.
Well,
You don't
maybe
just
not,
stay
at his
in
house,
an
maybe at,
area.
a motel, because I couldn't find literally where they were found. I searched through 3 different articles and I couldn't find it. If any of you actually want to look into that for me and post it in a comment or
Why didn't
something,
you
I
just
have
place
I have a
reports?
comment section on the website that I added if you want to go put it in there.
I would love that. So they were found 100 miles away.
Okay, but my question is, why would they go only 100?
It was only
miles away?
a week later. That's the thing.
But when you be
But
on
still,
the
they
run
could've been-
from the instant
Yeah,
that it
they
happened.
could have moved out of whichever area they were in
Oh.
Canada.
Here's your soda,
Instead
Catherine.
of just going, oh, we're only moving 100 miles away from this place. Like,
Well, they
could've
didn't
gone out
they
of
didn't
state.
move out. They literally just kind
They're
of
in
ran.
Canada.
Shut
They
up.
out of
the
state.
country.
Shut up.
Okay, let's get to the trial, because the trial thing is actually long and pretty interesting. So, they claimed they were in love, and while they were waiting trial behind bars, Jeremy even proposed to Jasmine, like, while they were exchanging letters, and she accepted.
Was she still only 12? Or was it
Yeah,
like a year?
she was still only, like,
Jesus
12.
Christ, what the fuck?
Because they, like, got caught, and they were put behind bars, like, and were waiting for trial. Her trial came first, and Jeremy's trial came second. She is the youngest person in Canada to be charged with a double homicide. So, well, it's technically a triple homicide, but like she's the only kid in Canada. She's the youngest person in Canada to be charged with basically
Multiple
like
homicides.
multiple murder.
Yeah.
That she's the youngest person in Canada, and keep in mind this happened all in like 2006.
So this
You
is
know,
like
there could have been a
recent.
10-year-old who just killed their
This
Dog
is
ages.
recent. So during the trials, when people brought up what she had said about, like, to her friends, like, oh, how she just wanted to kill her family, she said it was just stupid talk. So in 2008,
Like locker room talk, like
Yeah.
Donald Trump. Sorry.
Ugh, ew. In 2008, which was Jeremy's, like, sentencing, he was sentenced to 3 life sentences, 1 for each person dead.
Yeah, it's gonna be harsher on him because he's older. And
Uh-huh.
he agreed
He's not
with
a
it.
For her, though, the way the laws work in Canada, it's illegal for someone in Canada under 14 to be tried as an adult, and she's 12. Well, she's 13, like, as it's her trial time. So she turned 13 during the court sentences and was giving the maximum sentence for someone under 14, and that's 10 years.
Jesus.
And she
Well,
can't
that's
have
not
any
a lot.
other, like...
Wait, this happened in 2006?
Yeah,
Wouldn't she be out by now?
she is. She's out by now. And she regrets everything that happens.
Oh, I was like,
She, like, absolutely regrets everything that happened. She's...
Damn.
She,
okay,
like, expresses...
you're fucked.
She expresses remorse about what happened. And that's, like, in my next thing. So, like, during her sentencing, she started going to school at Mount Royal University, which I don't know what that is, but it's a university in Canada.
Yeah.
So she started going to school while she was, like, in there, because she was 13 when she was sentenced.
They still had to send her to school for it.
Yeah, they still had to send her to school. And then in 2012, she started rehabilitation, and as of rehabilitation. As of 2016, her sentence is finished, and she was freed of any restrictions, which means no all-time surveillance, no parole checkups, on May 6th, 2016. My birthday.
Way to go.
She was literally, like,
well,
What
free
an
of all
all-star.
charges.
if she did good enough in jail for those 10 years, she can get off easily.
For
and
good
also
behavior.
because she was
And
12
in her
and they
beha-
gave her the maximum thing,
And it was 10 years. And during her rehabilitation, like, the therapist even stated how she feels genuine remorse over what happened and how she never wants to do that again. Like, what she could have just been, like, saying all this stuff, but it's 2017 and she hasn't killed anyone yet, and she was released in 2016. It's almost 2018. Ew. I completely forgot it was almost 2018.
Way to rush things.
I don't really have anything about her life after that, because she was so she probably changed her name and, like basically made up this past for her because she's not gonna want to go around being like, yeah, I'm Desmond Richardson that killed my family. Like, she doesn't want to do that.
And the guy's still in jail?
Yeah, the guy's...
Is he in there for life?
Yeah, 3 life sentences.
Oh, right. Sorry. I'm, like, slow right
He's
now.
in there for 3 lives. But, I also have pictures of her, which like, her boyfriend, I'll show you guys the pictures. Her boyfriend looks like a total, like, creepazoid. This was her when she was 11, and then this was her after she met him.
Dude, she doesn't look like a
crawling in my
But she doesn't look like she's 12. She looks so much older.
Yeah.
She looks like she's
Danny
20.
showed me these pictures during video editing yesterday. And I was like, yeah, she does not look like she's 12.
She doesn't look, that's part of the reason, like, oh, they're like, oh, maybe she lied about her age to him, and he didn't know she was 12, and she, like, kind of kept lying to him.
People can do that, yeah.
Yeah, like, you can lie about your age. Because she can definitely, I think she looks like she's 21.
Yeah.
In those pictures, I would say, like, the youngest you could pull off is 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, that's my story. It's actually...
But then her maturity might give it away, though.
Yeah, but it's such a short story. That's because it got wrapped up so easily. But it's also one of those things where it's like, would you guys even be, would you guys be
Yes.
able, like, no, you would be able to, Katie. You feel no remorse for anything. But, like, would
Good.
you guys actually be able to kill your family? Because they
No.
were being good parents.
No.
Like, they weren't even something unreasonable. Like, she was dating some guy her
I mean,
age.
if I had a reason.
But
I mean,
it
if
was,
I
like,
got really upset by it.
But think about it.
Was upset.
think about it. I was 12 when I started dating my ex. And
But
I,
you guys the same age, so it's different.
we were,
Just
but it's
about.
not, but that's not the case I'm making. Everyone, like, in my family told me that it was a bad relationship and that I could get out while I could, and I didn't because I didn't want to listen to them because I'm like, no, I'm 12, I'm right, I know what I'm talking about. So, it's one of those things where they were literally just being good parents and she killed them for it.
Yeah.
And literally, I started crying when I first heard about it when they talked about the little brother. Because, like, there's different cases. There's, like, there was one where she didn't, like, stab him. She, like, waited, like, there covering his ears until the boyfriend came in and stabbed him, and there's stuff like that. But I'm just going with the one where she stabbed him.
Yeah.
Because it's the most logical to me. Like, I wouldn't sit there and wait.
So I just noticed the theme between you and I's stories today. You know, parents getting killed.
With the whole werewolf thing, I was.
I mean, hey, he'll be
Who
fine after
Who the
the
heck would believe,
Yeah.
like, I'm a
Okay.
300... But no, he's in for life sentences. Like, that's until he dies.
Yeah.
So he's there for a long time.
So, with the whole werewolf thing, I was watching a Vine last night, and this guy-
Vine's dead. Are you kidding?
I am dead. So
I said Vine, not you.
I am too.
Oh, shit. I have a giant
So-
tear, like, right in my pants right there.
So this guy
Oh
was
God,
like,
yeah.
in all forms but physical, I am a wolf, and he sat there and he
Oh
looks out
my
to the
God.
ocean and goes, woof. And
I've seen that.
I was like, what the hell is
We're
wrong with
very off
society?
topic.
It
Okay.
was somewhat.
Yeah, okay,
relatable.
so let's
Oh.
hand this mic a little bit closer because Katie's going next, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of far away from her, so I'm going to put it a lot closer to her.
I just don't want to be heard if I fart.
Okay. So
I tilted it more up towards you. Actually, wait, I'm going to move it a little bit so Evelina can still be heard.
I'm doing the case of Lizzie Borden, or like, I mean, it's not like the case of Lizzie Borden. I mean, it's just like a case that kind of centers around her. You know,
Alright.
you'll get it when I
Is that
explain.
how
She's a century of attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she was born. I'm talking with a Bostonian accent because you know Massachusetts.
Well, you can't whisper.
She was born on July 19th, 1860. And
Wow, that's
Six.
old.
yeah. So and she so then flash forward to 1892. I mean my notes are really scattered. I'm sorry. Okay, so like I'm sorry. Let me get my thoughts back
Let
together.
me rephrase
So like
this.
Lizzie her name was Lizzie Andrew Borden, full name. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And so she and her younger or older sister.
Wait, her middle name was Andrew?
Yeah, it was 1860.
No wonder why she did what she did.
No, so she and
Yeah,
her
if mom and dad gave me the middle name Andrew, I'd be like,
Haley
what
Andrew.
I'd kill myself. Unless my last name was Andrews, like Haley Andrews.
Haley Andrew Andrews.
No. Okay, I wouldn't want Andrew in my name unless it was my last name. That you can't
Okay, so
just
can I
say.
continue?
Yes.
So Lizzie and Emma, the Borden sisters, they lived with their like mom died when they were little kids. So their father, Andrew,
Cut.
remarried, and he married a woman named Abby Gray. So, and then flash forward to 1892. And so Lizzie, at 32 years old, because she was like single, never married and shit.
Oh, so she was like a, what are they?
Spinster.
Yeah, like they call them like
It's spinster.
spinsters.
Yeah, she lived with her father,
Never,
stepmother, and their maid, Bridget Sullivan.
They have their own braid. I wish I had my own
What the
braid.
fuck?
No, and they lived there.
A spinster? That's
like
what
a
they,
woman
that's
that
what they
never
call the
gets
woman who didn't marry
Married,
it back
yeah.
in like the 1800s.
Oh,
Yeah,
alright.
Because like
And so-
women's duty was to get married
Yeah,
and have
can you shut
children.
up? For a second.
Oh my god,
Um,
Katie.
I'm trying to.
I hate you.
No, so
Keep going.
and they lived in Massachusetts, and then so Andrew and Abby were found murdered in their home on August 4th, 1892. So Lizzie and Emma, they like reportedly despised Abby, and as adults they fought with their father over money and stuff because they're
Who is Abby the stepmom?
I've
Okay.
heard this before.
yeah, and so the father was like really rich, like a bank mogul, whatever.
I've heard this exact story before.
Yeah. So I just, like, for one of my lines in my notes, I was like, Liz and Em reportedly despised Abby, and as adults, they fought with their... Continue. So then, I'm gonna get on to the actual murder now. So, okay, so Andrew was found dead in a pool of his own blood on the living room couch. And I'm actually gonna read what I wrote in my notes. His mug was nearly split in two, and his mug being his face. Like, yeah. And then so
I didn't assume you meant a coffee mug. Like,
That's
there's
what
just
I
a
thought.
half-broken coffee mug next to him.
And like
Coffee
coffee
gone.
just like spilling out.
I feel like
No.
people only care about the fact
No.
that the coffee's
Oh
dead.
God. No. And then the stepmom was found upstairs with her face smashed to pieces, and it was later determined by the investigation that she was killed first. And so, and Lizzie was the only one was home. Like, the maid wasn't there, and her sister wasn't there. She was like, "Oh, I was in the van."
Sus.
Yeah, she was like,
in
"Oh,"
the bar.
she was like, "Oh, I was in the van
Can you stop talking in that accent?
at the time of the murders," and she was the one that discovered the bodies, obviously, because she was in the barn at the time of the murders,
Quotations.
and then walked into the house to find her parents dead. So
Don't you think she would have heard something if, like, they screamed? Like, if she
yeah,
was
their
actually in
faces
the
are
bar.
getting cut in two.
But they could have screamed, and maybe she could have heard it if she was not the reason for death.
Yeah. So, and the potential I can't talk.
Potential.
The potential murder weapon, which was a hatchet, was found in the basement of the home. That's a little sus, don't you think?
With her fingerprints all over.
They
This
didn't
is
have
in the
fingerprinting.
1800s. They did.
What?
Yeah, in 1892. Yeah, they had it in Europe. So, and all of
Well,
the
they're not in Europe.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
and so all of the evidence to put like, so Lizzie was put on trial for the murders or whatever, and all of the evidence was circumstantial because, like, legit, they had finger testing, but they didn't use it. They had fingerprint testing.
Well, the thing is,
that they
it's
could have
the
used.
1800s. Maybe they were just kind of like, this is gonna take up all of our time, and we don't know if we're gonna like ruin any evidence. Like, maybe they don't know what they're doing.
No,
Maybe
but
they
the
just didn't give a shit.
No, like, it was like everybody was doing it in Europe, and people were doing it in other investigations at the time.
Well,
and
the
they
thing
just
is, think
didn't
about
fucking
how
use it.
many murders aren't solved in Europe.
True. And so then, and then there's also alleged evidence that Lizzie tried to buy poison the day before the murders, and then she also apparently burned one of her dresses days after the murder. And then she was acquitted by an all-male jury because they were like, "Oh, a sweet Christian girl like her couldn't do something like that."
Sweet Christian girl.
So then,
Story of a girl who rocked the whole world. Sorry.
so, and so she was acquitted. It's still a cold case to this day. It was probably her who fucking did it. So, like,
When did that happen? 100 years ago?
Let me can I say something really quickly
1892,
though?
over 100 years ago. Why?
The exact podcast I heard this from, I literally didn't realize what it was until you're like, oh yeah, like, she was the only one in the house, they had a maid. I'm like, I've heard this exact story and I didn't even realize it because I listened to it over the summer. And it was, it's on the Unsolved Murders podcast by Parcast. It's literally their Lizzie, they have 2 episodes just dedicated to each different case, and this was the Lizzie Borden one. And I was like, that's where I've heard the name before. That's where I knew the story from.
Yeah, and so she, Lizzie inherited a large sum of money after the murders. Like, she got half of her father's money, and then her sister got
That
the other half.
alone is motivation to kill your family.
Yeah, and then she moved out of the murder house to a different house, and she died in the house that she bought on June 1st, 1927, at age 67. And so now...
Too bad she didn't make it 2 more years.
Age 69.
So then the Borden house is now a bed and breakfast, and I'm pretty sure they've reported hauntings out there.
Ooh, hauntings.
I didn't do anything about it. In my notes, and then I was like, oh, she was like, people were still like suspicious of her until her death, because
Of course they would be.
And then, so she is the muse for the rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. And I'm done with this story. Why are you clapping?
It's a little.
Because that was
sus.
good. I like how you added the rhyme at the end.
Yeah.
It's-
Like, did you guys ever say that when you were kids?
What?
Like,
What?
Lizzie Borden gave her mother 40 whacks
And then when she saw what she had done, she gave her
father
dad 41.
51.
Her father. What did I
Like,
say?
did you guys
Dad.
ever say that?
No, I knew
Her
it
father
was a thing.
41.
Brooke-
It's like I knew it was a thing. It's just I didn't know the exact wording of it, and I knew there was 40 and 21.
Me and Brooke, at one of her birthday parties where she was at, like, the Westbrook, like, pool,
Because
like, the community center, at one of her parties, it was us, Hella, Katie, Champagne, and a whole bunch of other popular girls. We all walked out of the,
Wow, what a nice way to freaking say a person's full name on a freaking podcast.
you know, I don't care.
That just pinpointing where we live. Why not?
Literally, I'm just gonna triangulate her location.
Ha! Hashtag Christine.
But, so I was like, so we all walked out of the bathroom chanting that. Like,
That's
we
not
were
wild.
like literally doing this, like chanting. Like, we walked in out in our swimsuits, like pumping our fists in the air and chanting.
Oh, just to give you a little heads up, I'm in the later episode. I'll be doing something related to bathrooms.
I'm sorry.
I know what you're gonna do.
Okay.
Just a.
So you know that's
hint.
Lizzie Borden.
Are we
Well
done here?
Yes.
Warden.
Let's go.
Alright.
Evelina.
Okay, so I'm doing Baba Yaga, which is a Russian witch, like a really well-known one.
Oh, you're sick.
Fucking boobs are sagging. No, seriously, like dead serious. I don't know if those are boobs or if it's like she's got sticks in her bras, but it's like down to here.
That's what age does to you.
Oh wow.
That's
Okay.
what it does.
Oh wow.
So the year that it originally started, like coming up, was in the 12th century when people began to believe in the use of powerful
Witchcraft.
magic of evil.
Of black magic.
They
Black Sabbath.
people during that year began to fear older women who are wise and more advanced.
Well, I'm a smart old lady. Burn her!
I'm a smart, independent woman.
I'm saying this now. It's
They would
all
burn all the
from
spinsters.
like the website. I didn't write it in my own words. It's more like what it says on the
What
Yeah,
website.
I
website?
know.
You copywriting.
It
porn.
is. Wait, hold up.
I know. I told Evelina to do it.
Okay,
in
they
her
were both
words.
giving me help. It's
Because you had to write it in your own words.
myths. Wait, hold up.
Mythbusters.
That's
No,
what I
it's not Mythbusters. What the? No, it's Myths and Legends. This website,
I'll link it.
and
Wow.
then
What?
Old Russia.
Do you have links on your
Yes, I do.
slideshow? Okay.
I'll link it.
I did. Oh, by the way, I did a citation for my picture, like full-on citation.
Thank you.
So, Baba Yaga is the wild woman or dark lady of magic, and in Russian folklore, these are many stories about her. These stories may come from people who lived in the forest of northern Russia
Russia.
and Finland many years ago. Finland,
It's
yes.
Finland.
Stop making fun of Evelina on her dialect.
They had
Sorry.
stone statues of Yaga, or named Yaga, sorry.
Ha! Yaga!
Like the hair
Wait,
pull thing.
whoa!
You just pulled hair, you just dabbed, and you just kind of turned away a
Wait,
shade.
what if that's why? Because the lady had long hair.
And people say Yaga.
Ha!
Oh my god!
No screaming, Haley.
I'm sorry, but like,
You're-
oh my god, conspiracy theory!
You're shook.
I'm shook.
Baba Yaga may stand for a person's fate when someone enters her house. They live or die, dependent on what they say or do. So if you go,
If you
if you start cussing and disrespecting her, you're dead.
if you pull someone's
What if
hair
you
and say
walk
Yaga,
in? What
will
if you
you
walk
live?
in and
No.
like you look at her and you just go, "Whoa, I didn't realize such beautiful young women lived alone in the woods." Like,
You
would she?
probably live, and she'd probably keep you as a prisoner, though.
Like, would she be like? Would she be like, "Flattery gets you nothing," or would she just be like, "Oh, thank you."
Oh,
Depending-
thank you.
depending.
Oh god. Oh god,
Um,
fuck me. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
What the heck? I'm trying to look through.
Sorry.
This podcast is such a mess.
She,
Just like my life.
how people mostly describe her. She is an ugly old witch who has power, and people should fear and respect her.
What if you're like, okay, you might not be like the sexiest person alive, but
You're probably dead.
but I connect to your intellect. Like, it's really like motivating. Like, you should give them motivational speeches.
She'd probably kill you just for that. I don't
She'd probably
know.
just-
You
like-
must call her beautiful.
Like,
Yes.
you are beautiful on the
You must call
inside
her
and the
mo-
outside.
You must.
Mother, you are beautiful.
So-
Ask how old she is. Just be like, How old are you? Are you 23? Like
You
Are-
look
you
are
like
you
a solid 21.
You look like a fetus.
You look like a fetus.
So,
not how to
wait.
compliment a
the
woman.
word Baba means
Filth.
Fetus I'd like to fuck.
I'm kind of scared.
I'm
of
gonna
my
name this
life.
episode Filth.
All right.
F-I-L-F.
So the word Baba
yeah.
can mean any woman old enough to marry. In stories, however, Baba Yaga is often described as a frightening, wild old witch with a terrible appetite for eating people.
Why are you pointing at me, woman?
Because you're gonna live alone in the woods and you're gonna eat people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eat deer.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Okay, and then she rides. She doesn't ride a broomstick. However, she isn't like an
She
actual.
rides that dick.
No, she doesn't ride a broomstick or have like a pointy hat. She sits in a giant mortar, which is like a big bowl for grinding food.
She doing
Quite-
it?
She wants to get ground.
Oh my god, you guys! I'm not. Her knees almost touch her chin, so she's like sits like this while she drives her.
Like
food.
she's
Fetal
having-
position.
Yes,
Like
I
she's
guess.
having
Drives
milk.
it?
Filth.
What?
She drives it?
She flies
Like with
in
the
it.
steering wheel.
Oh!
Sorry, I didn't mean drive.
The
Uh,
Flintstones.
Meet the Flintstones.
No.
No, not the Flintstones. the other
Whenever
one.
she appears, a
The
wild
Jacksons.
why? A wild wind begins to blow. The trees groan and leaves
The wind
whirl
is
through the air.
howling
when she
like
shows
a
up.
swirling storm inside.
So,
Don't
Can't
get her.
keep it.
Okay.
No
She
matter
has-
how hard I try.
And the thing that can confuse people the most is she has two older sisters that go by the same name. So you don't want to confuse
Oh my
them
god,
both.
it's like the sisters in Hocus Pocus.
Except they all go by the name Baba Yaga.
So she leaves.
I bet their parents were real creative there.
Oh, yeah.
Baba Yaga 1, Baba Yaga 2,
yeah, can we take a second to like appreciate the fact that Danny just like spilled soda on her?
Like she was like throwing
I
around her soda
yeah.
bottle.
I was throwing around my bottle and
And like water, soda was like, and like
Gone.
flew out.
So her home is a hut, like I said earlier, deep in a birch forest, in a place that is difficult to find unless a magic thread, feather, or doll shows the way. So it's like in Brave with that little blue thing
Will
that
of the
shows.
wisps.
Yeah.
Will of the wisps.
Except it's a doll.
They
it
were
has
like-
to-
If you hit the mic, I would murder you.
Yeah, because we'd have to pay him back.
Very often the hut.
Oh wait, quick. Sorry, but quick
You triggered
shout
me.
out to Mr. Fields for letting us.
Are
use
you
the
literally
microphone.
gonna shout out to him every episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
You trigger me.
Evelina's just been cut off so much.
I'm sorry.
Very often the hut is guarded by hungry dogs, evil geese, swans, or a black cat.
evil geese?
Yes,
Have you ever seen
they
a
are
goose?
so
A
scary.
goose. It's a geese.
No, geese
It's-
is the plural
geese is-
of goose.
Do you
Have
want to
you
know
ever
what
seen a geese?
Do you want to know what is plural for a group of sharks is?
Me trying to
A
talk.
smack.
A smash.
So the hut, it can spin around and move throughout the forest. So it kind of like
Does
grows
it have
legs.
chicken legs?
Okay, it actually somewhat, like, quite literally takes the metaphor. Did it get up and walk on its own to a whole nother
But is it
level?
like-
It's get up
Howl's
and walk
Moving
away. Did
Castle?
it grow legs and
Yes,
walk
that.
away?
Is it like Howl's Moving Castle?
I don't know what that
What?
is. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my god!
Oh my god, it's like that thing in Game of Thrones where they
None
live
of
in
us
the
watch
north,
Game of Thrones.
but like how like you can't find their castle. It's where that like the Black Raven guy, the person who's in Nanny McPhee, the one in Maze Runner, and his sister, where they're from, whether it was
Oh
Bran,
yeah, yeah.
and
That's
the-
not.
I
that-
love this
that's not in
episode.
the
You
north.
get the
Yeah,
dumbass.
it is. It's in the swamps, but it's in the north.
Yeah, I know, but it's like near the south.
okay,
yeah, but it's also
guys,
in the
stop.
The hut, when it moves or when it just sits around, it makes a blood curdling screeches, and most most of those who go into the house never
Die.
leave. I'm gonna
Hansel
slap
and
you.
Gretel.
This title is gonna be Eve gets interrupted.
Eve is triggered.
Like,
What about? I was gonna be.
Phil.
Okay,
Wait,
it's
I'm
gonna
t-
be
I'm-
Phil for Eve is trigged.
oh yeah.
Filth
Trigged.
and
So-
Eve is
Trigonometry. That makes me triggered.
She has the decency to wash them and feed them, and then sits them on a giant spatula before putting them in the oven. She finds
so
them.
Hansel and Gretel.
Yes,
So
I
Russian.
guess.
So the Russian version of Hansel and Gretel.
I guess so. I don't know.
Rudder.
Uh,
Gretel.
the reason why people go to her, which is strange, is because she's wise and all-knowing, all-seeing, and tells the whole truth to those who are brave enough to ask. She rules over the elements fire, air, earth, and water.
You could have just said the elements.
Whatever.
Like
you could
the
have
Avatar.
literally just said the Avatar.
Whatever.
She's actually the
Okay, no screaming, Evelina. God.
Her faithful servants are the white horsemen, the red horsemen, and the black horsemen.
At least she ain't racist.
What about
Like so.
No, I'm
Blue
not gonna.
people?
No, I'm not gonna
What about
say
the
what I was
Smurfs?
gonna. I was gonna say a really, really bad thing.
What? Say it.
No, cause black, white,
No!
and like red, but red is like it's like derogatory towards Indians. I was gonna say, what about yellow for like derogatory terms against
Asians.
Asians?
You guys are so
I know, I'm so bad.
So some people think she has iron teeth, and also that she's as thin as a skeleton, even though she has like a big ass appetite.
Dude, I wish that was me. I thought you were just gonna edit it to say that
Big
you
ass,
were got a
yeah.
big ass. She be thick.
Apparently,
Like, that's what the title should be.
It was
Apparent-
screaming.
apparently, her nose is so long that it rattles against the ceiling of her hut when she snores. Stretched out in all directions upon her ancient brick oven. I don't know what that was for.
Cooking.
She also doesn't dress as a normal witch. Oh wait, that was for the pointed hat thing. Pop culture reference from one of my favorite movies, John Wick. They call him the Baba Yaga, like in Russian, because he's how terrifying he can be, and also how sweet he can be, depending on who you are.
Okay.
Apparently in One Piece, Ship of Fools.
Oh, One Piece?
Yeah, except
Oh my
she's like
God.
this fat round
Yeah,
woman.
I know that episode too. I've only watched like a few episodes, but I know that episode.
Wizard 101 as an enemy you fight.
Yeah, Wizard 101. I fought that Baba Yaga.
And in one of the newer Scooby-Doos, like someone dresses up as the Baba
Yes,
Yaga.
yes, I know that one too.
And here are some pictures. Like that's from
You better have
Scooby-Doo.
cited those, or
That's
that's
from
gonna be
Wizard
hell
101.
for me.
That's from
One
One
Piece.
Piece, and then those are just random. That's the chicken feet. There's chicken feet on her.
If you didn't cite the images,
I will cite them.
That's not that picture at the top. That's not One Piece.
That's what it said it was. Like
Okay,
it came
that
from.
looks a lot more like Howl's Moving Castle than it does One Piece.
No, it was. I said one from like when I looked up Baba Yaga pop culture. It came up One Piece. Clicked it. Said the episode. I was like, ugh.
Okay.
Well, Google's not always right.
I wasn't in Google. I was in One Piece.
What
Well,
the
you looked it
fuck
up on
does
Google.
that
You
mean?
idiot.
Do they have a search engine?
No. So like, see though.
You better have
she-
cited those, or that's gonna be hell for me.
I will cite them.
Oh, Evelina.
Well,
No.
like she almost hits her. She almost like in this picture. She
She's
almost,
riding like.
I only have one picture for mine.
Probably a mistake.
It's of Jeff.
And then credits. I'll add more credits. I'll grab
Yeah,
those
because
pictures
I
and add more
literally
credits.
I'm citing all the sources for the images.
Back when the
So,
world was new.
anyone want to talk about Baba Yaga and her witchy
No.
bitchiness?
There's so many forms of her
She's
though.
such a witch.
We interrupted Evelina so much.
know,
I feel
I'm
like
sorry.
there is so
I'm
much
like
to say.
completely
Evelina's-
shocked.
Like this, how long is the podcast right now?
It's like 38
Probably like 40
minutes.
hours,
No,
'cause you guys
38
are being
minutes.
It's only 38 minutes.
Yeah, but
we might have it less than an hour.
It would have been shorter.
No,
if
you
you
guys
guys
just
didn't
made it
interrupt.
Oh god, I'm touching my microphone!
Oh my god,
That's
Danielle!
probably just gonna be
like, if anyone wears earbuds, they're gonna be like, what the hell?
Yeah, because I'm right next to
Trigger
it.
warning.
Why the fuck would it be a trigger warning?
I don't know who might get triggered by that. Who's like
Headphone warning. This is way late, but
Yeah, headphone
Yeah,
warning, like a
headphone.
minute after it happened. Okay, I'm gonna turn it a bit more towards you. Evelina, you can't talk into things. And no citing it now. You must wait.
I'm doing it now.
No,
I'm
you
still
must
gonna
wait!
listen.
no.
I deserve
no,
at least this
no,
for you guys interrupted me.
No.
I will throw my sock in your face.
no one else has been on their laptops when someone else has been saying their story, so
Unless
shut your
it's me
laptop.
checking the time.
Why are we fighting about this?
Because I will,
BB's upset.
I will throw
Even though
socks.
BB didn't get interrupted!
I haven't gone yet.
Of course
You will be. That's
What
very
does that
soft.
mean? You will be.
So
so let's let Haley have the
So-
floor. It's just kind of.
she's sitting on a mattress. Shut.
Oh my god. I would
Okay,
hurt
so,
everyone in this
As I was
goddamn
saying,
room. I'm getting pushed to murder.
I'll
Then you should.
shut.
no, you know what?
Shut.
No screaming.
Shut.
the door.
I'm gonna go get one of those drinks.
No, you're
No.
not.
What the fuck are you doing?
Not now. All right,
Okay.
so I am doing Jeffrey
You're
Dahmer.
not
I hope
You're
you're
not
not doing
doing
that.
anyone like from your fucking slideshow.
I will be telling, reading, making an awful reenactment. I won't be
You're
doing
gonna
that.
reenact. You're gonna reenact, dude. I'm into
No.
this. Give me a script and I'll help
Done.
reenact.
Of the one, the only, Jeffrey Dahmer.
That long side
No,
was needed.
no. I thought of Chicago because they introduced this one guy. It's like the one, the only, Billy Flynn, and then it's like bum ba da 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 da.
This is why these episodes are long.
all I care about is love.
All I care about is you shutting up.
Except all he cares about is money.
I just want your money, honey.
Can
What's
I?
the song?
Can I go?
I don't know.
Yes.
Can you?
Evelina, shush. We must respect her because this is already 40 minutes long and her thing's gonna take a long time. And it'll take me a long time to export.
Shook.
All right. So Jeffrey Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960 in West Allis, Wisconsin.
Who the fuck is who lives in Wisconsin?
Serial killers, apparently.
The Cheese King from Danny Phantom.
Oh my god!
And his parents' names were Joyce and Lionel.
Why are you always lying to me, Al? I don't know.
Dahmer.
Out
All
of
right.
my eye.
So-
like really quietly. Dahmer.
He only had a sibling. He had only one sibling. His name was David.
My name's David. My name's David Dahmer. DD, as they call me.
So his brother
Maybe.
is 6 years younger than him, and his brother is 50 now currently, and if Jeffrey Dahmer, spoiler, if he didn't die, he would be 56. All right. So he died at age 34 on November 28th, 1994, at the Columbia Correctional Institution.
I like how you said spoiler right before you just told us
Yeah.
that. So
Hey,
you're like, spoiler.
for a
whatever
word
to
that's
say.
spelled Portage. How would you pronounce that? Portage. Portage.
Wait, say
Portage.
it again slowly.
Portage.
Yeah.
Portage.
Yeah, Portage.
Yeah.
Portage, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
If we say anything wrong, you can correct us.
All right. So his crime spree, which consisted of raping, murdering, and dismembering 17 men and boys, took course from June 18th, 1978 to July 19th, 1991.
You know who he was?
So he was, meaning that he was only 18 when he first killed someone.
You know who he reminds me of? The old man from Family Guy that that is into
The
Chris.
pervert?
Yes. I don't know why, but he just popped up.
His
boys.
entire crime spree went on for 13 years, and he had crimes committed in both Ohio and Wisconsin. He is known as the Milwaukee Cannibal and the Milwaukee Monster.
I'm gonna tell you the Milky Cannibal.
He's known as the Milky Cannibal.
You know what I mean?
All right, so this is just continuing like a bit of backstory.
Alright.
Before the age of 4, like everyone around him described him as like happy and energetic and like a usual normal kid. But he had to have a surgery to correct a double hernia, which I don't know what that means.
No, we googled what a double hernia is. Remember? I'll Google it again. I'm gonna Google it again because I
What
want
is
to read out what a double
double
hernia is.
Hernia.
Oh, I want to read it though. Once you pull it up,
In men, in general, hernias typically develop in the groin area in either scrotum on one or both sides.
Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah, it's
No,
like
it's
a-
when you're a hernia is when your like scrotum is like coming through your testicles and stuff, and like you can have it in your stomach where your intestines are like coming out and shit.
So that means it was in both of his testicles, a double hernia.
Yeah.
I have babies, that's why I go
So
exercise.
after the surgery, everyone noted noticed and recalled that he like was more like laid back, more like not as energetic.
Was it in his
and
brain?
shit like that? No.
What was it?
It was in his. I don't know where it was
In
actually.
his testes.
Depending on where the double hernia, because if it was anywhere near his brain, they could have fucked up like
In like the frontal lobe or whatever.
yeah, they could have fucked up his frontal
Maybe
lobe.
that's what he does. What he does.
Like, and he started becoming more and more withdrawn, especially after the birth of his younger brother. and the like the frequent moves that his family went through. And he's described as in his teens to be disengaged, tense, and I have this in quote, largely friendless.
Honestly, that was
Me.
me last year.
I was thinking me before I moved here.
Okay, so he claimed when he was alive that his compulsions towards both necrophilia and murder came about when he was only 14. So 10 years after the surgery.
Well, that's when like puberty starts happening. Like
Yeah.
that's when you start
Men
thinking
are very
like
horny.
that's when people will like look at someone.
I'm pretty sure most guys aren't like, oh, I want to go fuck a corpse.
If they're desperate enough.
That was super. I'm sorry, but I assume most guys aren't gonna want to do that.
That's all they can
like
get.
but the thing is like when you hit like puberty you literally think like the weirdest things like some kids will actually think that kind of stuff but they'll never actually act on it like they'll just kind of be like I wonder what it's like to do this like which like I can say like yes I've had those like not necrophilia no.
I was like
But, those thoughts
is there something you want to tell us?
Those thoughts where it's like what if oh my god my snake she's peeking out those thoughts of like oh well what if like I did this and this and this like what is this
What if you murdered someone?
That's
How would that feel?
That's a daily basis. The hot of mine.
I dream about that sometimes.
guys okay let's get on focus
All right. And like it seems like from either like first-hand accounts and through like him that it like the turning point of like these thoughts turning to actions was when his parents' divorce was like when his parents' marriage was like failing and when the divorce was finalized and yeah
that kind of stuff can really mess with it can mess with a kid who's young but it can also really mess with like a teenager. That's why a lot of parents if they're gonna get a divorce they do it young.
You gotta start me on.
Okay. I'm going from one side of my slideshow and then I'm going back two because it would make sense chronologically.
You were gonna say I'm gonna go from one side of my shaft to the other and I was just gonna cry.
So I will now be talking about his first victim.
Oh boy.
And this was on June 18th, 1978. So he was 18.
Oh.
So like he just recently graduated high school. So his first victim was Stephen Hicks.
What is Hicks remind me of something?
When we were talking about that juice when we were walking home from the stop.
Yeah, I was like, why does... Yeah, it's spicy, not Hicks.
He was 18 and he was the last eyewitness account of him was him hitchhiking to a rock concert that was going to be held at the Chippewa Lake Park.
This is why you don't hitchhike. Like
and Dahmer himself. I reference Jeffrey as Dahmer in my slides.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dahmer admitted to whoever the hell that the thing that caught his eye about Hicks was that Hicks wasn't wearing a shirt.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
can I kind of go off on like a little thing right here? Hitchhiking is literally such a dangerous thing, and like not many people do it anymore because it's such a dangerous thing. And to think that like back then,
here's a PSA: don't hitchhike.
To think that back then people actually hitchhiked. Like I've seen hitchhikers before too. Like I've actually seen quite a few of them, and I always wonder like why are these people doing?
Like
this?
you could get murdered.
The thing is, though, it's normally, like, old men hitchhiking, and my mom is like, I'm not picking up them.
Connors asked before if we could pick up a hitchhiker because it was, like, a younger teen, and only because it was pouring out, and my mom goes, no, he could kill us. And I was like, well, you just got down to the bone with that.
All right,
but at the end of her story, I have a story I can tell about hitchhikers. Like, I'll probably tell it on here.
Okay. So, Hicks was killed by getting bludgeoned and strangled by, like, the bar of a dumbbell, I guess.
Ooh.
So like he held the dumbbell like against his throat and like pulled.
Before he got dismembered. His remains were pulverized and scattered in the woods behind Dahmer's childhood home. And this is another tidbit I added after finishing. Like this is what I'm about to say is from another website, so I don't know if it's like as accurate. Like, I mean, I use Wikipedia for the majority of my
Wikipedia is bad.
No, it's not.
But for like murder shit, no one's gonna mess with a murder thing though. If you really think about it, like the only people who are looking that
Guys,
stuff up
come on.
is
It's already 40 minutes long,
All right.
and we have to get through.
So after strangling Hicks to death, and this is before he got dismembered and pulverized, blah blah blah. He stripped the clothes from the body.
So just pants.
No, the clothes, everything. So Dahmer was just standing above a naked dead body and masturbated.
Ooh, you touch my tra-la-la. My ding-ding-dong.
Sweetie, what?
He masturbated.
You didn't need to restate it.
Over a naked dead body that he just murdered.
Touch my
He needs to
body.
set out his priorities.
Well, apparently they're not gonna be straight.
I never said that was actually really good. You like smacked her in the face. Katie just went to go high five Evelina and straight up smacked her.
So, continuing on to this next slide, Dahmer was staying in his childhood home, and his father and his father's fiance, since his parents got divorced, were like somewhere else. So 6 weeks after his first murder, Dahmer's father and his fiance returned to the home to find that Dahmer was living there. All right.
Spell Dahmer. Like
Dahmer.
Dahmer.
So he made his father was like constantly like saying, "Oh, go to college, blah blah blah." So that August, so like the month around a month after around 2 months after he murdered Hicks, he enrolled at Ohio State University, wanting to major in business. But and this isn't surprising, he made no progress during the term that he was there, due to his alcohol abuse, throughout the majority of his time there. Sometime during the term, it didn't say when I was on the website, his father decided to pay him a visit, but when he got there, he found Dahmer's room just full of empty alcohol, like booze bottles.
Oh, dang.
Dahmer dropped out after only 3 months of attending the university, even though his father had already fully paid for him to go for a second term.
He made it further than most people in our school.
Rude.
Not him. What?
Okay, and since college didn't work out, his father continued to urge him to do something, and this time it was the military. Was not a good idea.
Ooh.
So he joined the military in the January of 1979.
Okay.
He was trained as like a medical specialist at Fort Sam Houston.
Oh, that's wonderful.
On July 13th, 1979, he was sent to Baumholder, I want to say, West Germany, where he served as like a combat medic.
Oh. The nurses.
Why would he be there in like the 70s? We weren't fighting them then.
I know.
Was there another big war?
I don't know. I don't know.
It might have been like as precaution.
Yeah, it's like going to the embassy or something.
In published reports, he was described as and this is in quotes, average or slightly above average and this is end of quotes, soldier in his first year of service.
First year.
Well, I'd love to be slightly above average.
Okay, how many
2 soldiers.
How many years did he do this?
He was there from January of 1979 to sometime in 1981.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
like
right before my mom was born. 2 years.
3 years. He was in there for like 3 years. 2 soldiers have testified that they were raped by Dahmer while they were in the army.
Yeah, that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah,
like,
a lot.
More than you'd think in like the army.
One in 2010, one stated that when they were stationed in West Germany, Dahmer had repeatedly raped him for a 17-month period. So that's over a year.
And the thing is, like, they wouldn't be able to say anything because, like, men are taught, like, if they say something, like, men are, like, when men get raped, they never say anything about it because they're taught that it's weak to be raped. They're taught that that's not, you should have been able to fight back.
Another said that they believed that they were drugged and raped by Dahmer in an armored personnel carrier in 1979.
Wonderful.
So messed up.
So if it's in an armored personnel thing, no one's going to be able to hear you.
Can you hear me? Nope.
In 1981, he was deemed unsuitable for military service due to his alcoholism and was formally discharged from the army. He was given honorable discharge.
Alright.
As his superiors, I don't know, I said it like that. His superiors didn't believe that his problems he had while in the army would be applicable to civilian life. So they said, "Oh, you have problems in the military? Well, you probably won't have them when you go back."
Probably.
Yeah. So I already did victim 1, we're good. Victim 2, November 20th, 1987. So this is 6 years after he's discharged from the military. Stephen Tuomi, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was 25 when
He was murdered.
yeah. And Dahmer admits that he doesn't remember doing it, but he said that he must have done it in like a drunken rage. So Tuomi was murdered in a rented room at the Ambassador Hotel. His body was dismembered in the basement of Dahmer's grandmother's home, and no remains were ever found. And it said also that they were like discarded in the trash. So I assume that's what Dahmer told them. Like, oh, his remains were discarded in the trash. So that's probably why you didn't find them, because they were probably taken out with the trash and then never found again.
Yeah, trash in my stomach. That was violent.
That was on okay, so this is victim 3 and 4, January 16th and March 24th of 1988, so just a year. Not even a year later. James Doxtador
It's okay, like, if we get pronunciations wrong, just know.
was 14.
14? Oh my god, that's younger than us.
He met Dahmer outside of a gay bar in Wisconsin.
Same.
Dahmer lured him back to West Allis where he lived, as he told that he would give the kid $50 if he posed for nude photos.
$50?
But I mean, that's
Evelina's like $50.
Dude, I'd go for like more than 200.
But like that's the 50s out, and if it's a kid who's 14, they're gonna want to get money.
The 50s.
The 80s, sorry. And if they're 14, they're just gonna want to get money. So he was strangled, and his body was kept in the basement for a week
Before to smell.
Before he was dismembered and the remains were thrown in the trash. None of the remains were ever found.
No, they were thrown in the trash, Evelina. You're not listening to anything we're
keep
saying.
going with it.
So this is victim 4. Richard Guerrero was
That sounds right.
22. He was drugged and strangled in Dahmer's bedroom in West Allis. His body was dismembered in the basement, and the flesh was dissolved in acid, and the bones were thrown in the trash.
You know, he could have had the bone.
The skull was disposed after several months of being bleached. Like, the skull had been bleached.
Yeah.
And none of his remains were found.
Because a lot of them were burned.
Okay,
Yeah.
so besides bones, you could feed the rest to pigs. So.
I'm not trying to teach people how to commit murder.
So,
I'm sorry.
victim 5, March 25th, 1989. So this is that's literally 364 days after the last murder. Anthony Sears, like Sears, the store, that's how his last name is spelled, was 24. He was the last of Dahmer's victims to have been drugged and killed at his grandmother's house. He was drugged and strangled, that's how he died. But, bad thing, he was also the first victim who had one or more body parts that Dahmer kept after they were killed. Dahmer preserved his skull and genitals.
Like, you
Why
mean
do I
to cut
feel like
off
he
his
did
dick and
this?
balls?
And they were later found in a filing cabinet at 924 North 25th Street, where that was Dahmer's next address, after Dahmer's arrest in 1991.
So he kept them in the filing cabinet still?
Yeah.
That's not weird.
Alright, victim 6 and 7. May 20th and June 14th of 1990. Raymond Smith was 32. He was the first victim killed at Dahmer's new address at 924 North 25th Street. Blah, blah, blah. He was a male prostitute who Dahmer met in a bar. Dahmer gave him a drink that had been laced in sleeping pills. And then he was strangled on Dahmer's kitchen floor, and his skull... Okay, Dahmer kept his skull and spray painted it.
Well, if
He
like,
didn't say what.
He didn't say what it didn't say what color it was.
I
It
assume
didn't
it
say
was
the
like
design.
black or red or something like.
What if it was something very gay?
Like
a
bright
rainbow?
pink?
And then his next victim, Edward Smith, and I couldn't find if those two victims were related, was 27, who was a known acquaintance of Dahmer's.
My friend Dahmer.
Whoa.
I like how you all just got so shook when I said
His
that.
skeleton was acidified, so it was like put in acid. And his skull was unintentionally destroyed when Dahmer placed it in the oven to try and remove moisture. None of his remains were found.
Yeah, a lot of them were like acidified or burnt.
Victim 8 and 9, September 2nd and September 24th of 1990, same year. Ernest Miller, 22-year-old dance student who met Dahmer outside of a bookstore. Any comments?
He sounds like a hipster.
Ernest.
Dahmer admitted that he'd been especially attracted to Miller's physique.
Like attractive.
A dancer's like what kind of? Do you know what kind of
It's
dancer?
like
did?
I don't know.
Well,
Well,
That's
like
all it said.
a dancer's
Like,
physique is normally very like
Fit.
very
Lean
fit and
and fit.
limb, like
Okay, so like
Like limber,
limber.
yet lean and like tucked in
Lim-
and stuff.
genital. Like,
No, like physique,
attractive
like
or-
physique, like,
like
body type.
like body
no, that's
type.
not what I meant. Never mind.
What did
Let's
you
just
mean? We're not
continue.
talking about genitals.
All
So
right.
I'm saying like if his
That's not.
No,
That's-
he was
no.
killed because his carotid
is that a body part?
artery was
Oh.
severed before he was dismembered in the bathtub of Dahmer's apartment. His
Yeah.
entire skeleton was stored in the bottom drawer of a filing cabinet. But his heart, biceps, and portions of his legs were stored in the freezer for a later date. And then in my notes I have ... cannibalism, folks. Don't you love notes?
I've heard leg meat is really like is one of the best parts.
Like chicken legs.
What
Like
the
no,
It's just
I've heard
bigger
this.
version of
No,
chicken
because you
legs.
have.
I've
more-
heard this. I've heard this
Muscle.
from like
Yeah.
specifically thigh meat is one of the best. But I've heard this from there was this guy who cannibalized a Dutch woman, and I'm going to be talking about this, so I'm not going to say everything. But he's still alive, and he was never really like he was charged for it, but he was never found guilty for it. And
Is this what you
yeah,
told
this
me
is what I
about?
told
Yeah.
you about. He can't be charged again, so he's basically become a celebrity, and he does interviews and stuff. And he says, because he ate the woman, he said, the thigh meat was the best part.
Oh, I've heard that.
She thick. All right. David Thomas was 22. Most of his victims are within like 14 to like 32.
Mm-hmm. Very wide range.
He encountered Dahmer near the Grand Avenue Mall. Again, he was lured to Dahmer's apartment because he was promised money if he posed for nude photos. Dahmer gave the guy a laced drink, and after he'd fallen unconscious, Dahmer decided that he was in quotes wasn't my type. In quote, that was in quotes. Like he stated that. Dahmer said that, but he strangled and killed Thomas anyways.
You know, he's not really my type.
Taking
I'm gonna do it.
Polaroid photos of the dismembering process.
That's great.
None of the remains were ever found.
Oh.
Took pictures though. Let's go shopping.
Let's take a selfie. God damn.
Victim 10 and 11. Wait, did I say that? I said the dates. Victim 10 and 11. February 18th and April 7th, 1991. Curtis Strotter, 17 years old. He was approached by Dahmer while he was waiting at a bus stop near Marquette. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Margaret.
Like, it's Marquette.
Marguerite.
Yeah, University. He was lured to Dahmer's apartment where he got drugged, handcuffed, and strangled before his dead body was dismembered in Dahmer's bathtub. And again, Dahmer kept his skull and genitals, but this time he also kept his hands.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry.
Shove a
Put
hand
my
in your
hands to
ass.
myself.
Quite literally.
Errol, Errol, Errol
Oh.
Lindsay, 19.
That just threw me off entirely. It's like Errol Lindsay.
His last
Hi.
name's Lindsay. Errol Lindsay, he was 19 when he died. He was the first victim who Dahmer practiced his quote-unquote drilling technique.
Oh, I know that.
Oh.
Where he would drill holes into the victim's skulls where he would inject hydrochloric acid into their brain or like other substances to try and make them like a zombie or whatever.
Because the more people he did that to, the more zombies he would have in his afterlife.
He can control
Dahmer
them.
admitted that Lindsay woke up while he was doing that, but fell back asleep because of the drink that he was given that was laced with sedatives. And then he was strangled to death. His body was flayed, and Dahmer kept the skin for weeks. His skull was found after Dahmer's arrest.
It makes him. I can control him that way. American Horror Story Hotel.
Yeah.
Victim 12 and 13, May 24th and May 27th, 1991. Tony Hughes, he was 31, he was deaf and he was a mute.
Oh.
Who was lured to Dahmer's apartment on the promise of being paid to pose for new photos.
But he
Again,
was
for the
deaf
third
and
time.
mute.
Being a mute, they
Probably.
communicated via handwritten letters.
Yeah.
Hughes was strangled and left on Dahmer's bathroom floor for 3 days before he was dismembered, and Dahmer photographed the process. His skull was kept and identified using dental records.
Well, he was somewhat telling the truth about taking photos. Was he not?
Conorak synthesophone. I'm just gonna say Conorak because I don't know how to pronounce it. 14. And he was the younger brother of the boy Dahmer had attacked in 1988, but I couldn't find like the name of who it was. But I don't want to assume that it was.
I don't know gender.
But like there are multiple people he attacked in 1988, so I don't know.
He's just a younger sibling of one of the people.
Okay.
Yeah.
he attacked.
One of the many.
So he was drugged, and hydrochloric acid was injected into his brain. Dahmer left the boy unattended to go and buy beer from the store. When he came back, he found the kid, 14 years old, remember, disoriented and naked in the street with 3 young women trying to help him.
How
Wait,
we
did
get
he
the
drill a
ladies?
hole in his head?
Yeah.
So he was still alive?
Yeah.
How?
That kid has he's like that kid that
And
like that
the cops
guy
arrived because I think one of the 3 women had called, but Dahmer ended up persuading everyone that him and Conorak were lovers.
He's a sociopath, right?
Quote unquote lovers, and his partner was just Conorak was just intoxicated.
He's a sociopath, right? Or is he a psychopath?
I don't know.
Didn't you just say he was 14?
Yeah.
So how?
Dahmer was.
The thing is, though, like, people that are sociopaths and psychopaths are just naturally charming.
I'm pretty sure
Like,
he
they
was
can naturally...
30, in his 30s, but Dahmer, like, when he died, he didn't look like he looked like at least, like, 21.
And he's,
29.
like, they can be naturally charming.
yeah.
Like, they can literally trick people. I know one.
What? Alright, when the police left, he once again injected hydrochloric acid into Conorak's brain, and this time it killed him.
So he must have not paid
He-
enough the
Dahmer-
first time.
Jeffrey Dahmer kept the head of the 14-year-old boy in the freezer and dismembered the rest of the body.
How many heads, dude?
I mean, he's gay.
Yeah. But still.
Do you get it? Like,
Yes.
okay.
Danny's done
Victim
bullshit.
14 and 15. I only have 2 more after this.
Mm-hmm.
June 30th and July 5th of 1991.
Wow.
Well, there's just things happening on our birthday.
Matt Turner was 20 years old. Okay. So that day was Chicago Pride Parade in the 90s. So they were pretty progressive.
Not really. There's pride parades basically everywhere. They were just very discriminated.
Yeah, but
against.
but yeah. Okay.
It's more
So
than
the 2 encountered each other at a bus stop, and Dahmer persuaded Turner to go to Milwaukee with him to be a model for a photo shoot. Turner was then drugged, strangled, and dismembered in the bathtub. His head and internal organs were placed in the freezer, and his torso was put into a 57-gallon drum that Dahmer had purchased on the 12th
Wow.
of June. It says July, but the 12th of July hadn't happened yet, so I assume that it's the 12th of June. It might have just been a typo on my part. All right. So Jeremiah Weinberger is victim 15.
Weinberger.
He was 23.
Nice.
They met at a gay bar, and Weinberger agreed to go to Milwaukee with him for some reason. Dahmer drilled a hole through the guy's head and injected boiling water into it.
Oh, no.
Dahmer later admitted that his death had been exceptional, as he was the only victim who died with their eyes open.
Oh, no.
Wow.
That's so bad.
He was decapitated, and his body was kept in the bathtub for a week before he was dismembered, and his torso was placed in the 57-gallon drum.
Did this bitch have no friends that came over and been like, how did he fucking shower?
He was generally friendless.
But how did he shower?
No, he was largely friendless.
With the bodies.
What, he showered with a dead body?
He just kind of picks up the dead body and, like, seductively caresses it as he takes a shower.
Just dances around the shower.
All right, victims 16 and 17, July 15th and July 19th of 1991. And these are the two murders that are the closest, I believe, with only being 4 days apart.
Yeah.
Oliver Lacey was a 24-year-old man. He was a bodybuilding enthusiast that Dahmer lured back to his apartment, promising money if he posed for photographs. That's just one of the things that he used to hook people.
Mm-hmm.
Lacey was drugged and strangled with a leather strap.
Ooh.
Like, he wasn't drugged with the leather strap. That's what he was strangled with. Before he was
Obviously.
decapitated. His head and heart were kept in the refrigerator. His skeleton was kept to decorate one side of the shrine of skulls and skeletons Dahmer was creating when he was in the process of creating when he was arrested. Just 1 week after
if
this.
If he did that, like, near Halloween...
So he was making a shrine of his victims' skeletons.
I know, but I'm saying, like, if someone showed up to his house, at least he could say it was Halloween decorations, because,
But this was in July.
I know, I'm saying that's why he should have done it around Halloween.
Alright, so Joseph Bradhoff.
One of the two.
Was 25, and he was Dahmer's last victim. He was a father of 3.
Oh no, just poor babies.
He was from Minnesota, and he was looking for work in Milwaukee around the time of his murder. His body was left on Dahmer's bed for 2 days. His dead body was left on the bed for 2 days.
That's wonderful.
Before he was decapitated on the 21st of July that year. His head was placed in the refrigerator, and his torso was also put in a 57-gallon drum. All right, so that's all of the victims out of the way.
Wouldn't that start to smell?
Yeah.
Unless you got, I forgot what it was, but if there's something that can make stuff not smell.
I only have
stuff that makes formaldehyde makes stuff not rot.
Yeah.
I only have 6 slides left. So.
I only have 6 slides.
So those are all of his victims done. I didn't go in very much detail because I didn't want this to be longer than I knew it was going to be. So this is okay. So he got convicted of 5 things: child molestation, disorderly conduct, indecent exposure, murder, and public intoxication.
Oh, indecent exposure being the...
I don't know. I didn't look it up.
Well, indecency.
Exposure to death.
Oh,
He was sentenced, after his trial had wrapped, he was, in total, sentenced 16 consecutive life sentences for his crimes. Before he could complete those, he was killed by fellow inmate by the name of Christopher Scarver in 1994. And we'll get back to that later. So, how he was arrested / the discovery of his crimes is the name of this slide. So, the day of Dahmer's arrest, 2 Milwaukee police officers picked up Tracy Edwards, a 32-year-old African-American man wandering the streets with a pair of handcuffs dangling from his wrist. So, just a disclaimer, most of his victims were African-American. And we'll get back to that later for the trial. He claimed, and in quotes, a weird dude, end quotes, drugged and restrained him.
A weird dude, when you say...
When the
that
police,
is very descriptive.
When the police arrived at Dahmer's apartment, he simply and calmly said that he would give them the key to the handcuffs around Edward's wrist.
Oh!
Yeah. Oh my god.
He didn't even deny it. He's like,
I'll get you the key to the handcuffs. I mean, hey, at that point, he probably knew that he was gonna get arrested and shit.
He knew he was fucked.
When the police went to inspect the apartment and bedroom, and Edwards claimed that the knife that Dahmer threatened him with was in the bedroom, they found mostly, I think, or all of the Polaroid photos Dahmer took of the dismembering process of all of his victims scattered on the floor.
That's wonderful.
Other searches that were conducted resulted in the discovery of a head in the refrigerator, 3 in the freezer, and other things like preserved skulls, jars that contained genitalia, and what is described as an extensive gallery of Polaroid photos of his victims.
Wonderful. That's just glorious.
So his trial began in January of 1992.
I'll probably edit that out.
It.
Wait, what time is that? Okay, that's an hour and 16 minutes in. That's what I know to look for.
Alright. So there were considerable racial tensions at the trial, given that most of his victims were African American.
Yeah.
That's so
and strict
dumb.
Security precautions were taken. An 8-foot wall of bulletproof glass separated him from the gallery of the people at the trial.
Wow.
8 foot high.
Oh, I thought you were saying 8 foot thick, like dang.
Wall of
Thick.
bulletproof glass. Only one African American was on the jury.
Really?
Well, yeah, it's understandable that they
It
wouldn't.
didn't say who it was.
Oh.
It's
And that
understandable.
created just more tension, but it was short-lived. His father and his father's second wife were in attendance throughout the entirety of the trial.
Wow.
Katie, got off your phone.
Imagine listening to
sorry.
this and learning about what your son has done. Imagine that.
Okay, he initially pleaded not guilty, even though he already confessed to the murders during when the police were questioning him.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
I thought you said he...
Eventually, he changed his plea to guilty by virtue of insanity.
Yeah, I thought you said he... Yeah.
But in aiding in this, his defense provided some gruesome details of his behavior, trying to convince the jury that only someone who was insane could commit such horrific and terrible acts. The jury sided with the prosecutor's assertion that Dahmer was completely aware that his acts were horrific and evil and decided to commit them anyways. On February 15th, 1992, the jury returned after about 10 hours of deliberation and found him guilty, but sane on all accounts. But sane. So,
Are you
that
serious?
means
He seems
that
sane.
means completely,
I think he was completely
cognitive
sane while
the
he was
entire
doing
time.
all that.
Because if he was insane, he wouldn't Polaroid all the...
And he wouldn't
Yeah.
keep everything around if he was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he was insane while killing them, he would have got rid of them.
Yeah, because
He
he was
was,
worried about getting caught, but because he was a complete psychopath, he was totally fine. He's because psychopaths are normally narcissistic, they keep trophies because it adds that risk of getting caught.
Yeah. He was initially sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences, but another one was tacked on in May of that same year.
Oh, that's wonderful.
According to reports, Dahmer adjusted well to prison life.
That's
Oh.
Okay. Adjusted to it well.
Don't drop
But he
the
was
salt.
initially kept away from the general population of the prison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's normally what they do with crazy people.
But eventually, after a while, he convinced authorities to allow him to integrate with the other inmates.
yeah, and then
normally.
he got killed.
The Columbia Correctional Institution allowed him to be baptized by a local priest after he claimed to have found religion through the books and photos his father sent him while he was in prison.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, but
I just picture his dad, like, going to the post office with, like, a Bible. Like, my son needs Jesus. He's
He
Jeffrey
needs
Dahmer.
Jesus.
So and this is the slide about his death. On November 28th, 1994, Dahmer was assigned to work with two other convicted murderers, Jesse Anderson and Christopher Scarver. If you remember from what I was talking about a little bit ago, Christopher Scarver is a relevant thing. When the guards left them alone to do their tasks that they were assigned, Scarver brutally beat Dahmer and Anderson with a metal bar he got from the prison weight room. Guards made the discovery that he had beaten the two to death after returning to the room where the three men were supposed to be working and not killing each other.
Yeah, they wouldn't put them in there to kill each other. That'd be illegal.
Dahmer had been pronounced dead after about an hour of the initial attack, whereas Anderson succumbed to his injuries days later.
Oh, that's sad. I feel like it's worse succumbing days later.
And Christopher Scarver talked to the New York Post in 2015 about why he did it. And he admitted that he wasn't just disturbed by Dahmer's crimes, but the fact that when Dahmer was in prison, he would fashion severed limbs out of the prison food to torment the other inmates.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That
I'm
sounds
sorry,
like something I would do just to, like, joke around.
but I feel like Jeffrey Dahmer dropped the soap more than once on purpose.
No, I feel like he was making people drop the soap, if we're gonna make
Yay!
that
He was kicking the soap out of people's hands. What the fuck?
So
Like
he
karate
and
kicking.
Scarver claims that both Dahmer and Anderson were taunting him during their work detail. And before he attacked them, he called Dahmer out on his crimes before beating the
You
two
don't
of them to death.
taunt a murderer.
I know.
He also claims that the guards allowed it to happen by stepping out of the room.
That is
some
a
people
valid
do.
claim.
Like
Yeah.
some
Like,
places,
especially since it's like Jeffrey Dahmer. Like,
if the
Alright.
people are bad enough, policemen will turn their heads and be like, nothing ever happened.
All right, so these are just a couple like films based on
Oh God.
his life.
Okay.
The Secret Life, Jeffrey Dahmer. Like the Secret Life : Jeffrey Dahmer. In 1993, starring Carl Crew as Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer in 2002, starring Jeremy Renner as Dahmer and Bruce Davidson as his father. Raising Jeffrey Dahmer in 2006, starring Rusty Snary as Dahmer and Scott Cordes as his father. The movie revolves around his parents' reaction towards his arrest. Jeff / like it has like two titles, I guess. Jeff or the Jeffrey Dahmer Files in 2012 premiered at the South by Southwest Festival. It features interviews with Dahmer's former neighbor Pamela Bass, Detective Patrick Kennedy, and his city's medical examiner Jeffrey Jensen. And My Friend Dahmer premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival on April 25th, 2017, starring Ross Lynch as Dahmer, and it shows his high school years and the events leading up to his first confirmed murder.
Also, American Horror Story to talk about.
Yeah, there's American Horror Story because he's in The Devil's Night of
Well,
season
yeah, but
5.
that's not based on him, though.
I know, it's
No,
not based
but
because
they
it
have
is
made
him.
an appearance.
Yeah.
in,
They straight up say it's like, yeah, because they talk about how he
like
drove.
Eileen Wuornos and
Yeah, and
and
John Wayne Gacy
and all of
and H.H. Holmes, which it's not directly H.H. Holmes, but
like
Evan
that season is basically based on his hotel.
Yeah, Evan Peters is based off of J.J.
Evan Peters?
Evan Peterson.
His character.
You said Evan Peterson. It's Evan Peters.
I just said Evan Peters, and then you're like, Evan Peters, and I'm like, Evan Peterson? I don't freaking know.
And do you know what that is? The end.
Oh my
of
god.
My slideshow.
Guys, this is already like an hour and 23 minutes. It's gonna take me forever to upload. But, so we should probably wrap this up quick. You can find us on social media.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you guys have any questions?
Okay, comments, first of all. Like, you didn't talk about any of the cannibalism.
I know.
True.
Yeah.
So,
Well, on the sites that I looked up, it didn't really, like...
get into his cannibalism,
Yeah.
but he is a cannibal. He
Yeah.
did eat people, and he ate.
Like, I assume, like, the body
And you didn't
parts
talk
that
about,
he
you didn't
kept.
talk about any of, like, the necrophilia.
Hey, he masturbated
Okay,
over a dead
I'm
body.
sorry,
That's
but
not-
that's what I was kind of waiting for in like the entire thing. I'm not kidding.
It's fine. Like, if people want to know more, they can just look it up
They can look it up.
themselves.
My sites are on here, so you can link them, or I will, on the website.
Yeah, you can
I'll
do
do
all
it.
this, like, website linking.
Who knows?
But we can because we should probably
Wrap
we
this
should
up.
probably wrap this up. Cause it's already 4:40.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
dang.
gonna go home in like 5, maybe.
Okay,
In
so
5 minutes or at 5?
At 5. I'm
guys,
probably gonna
guys,
leave soon.
guys, come on.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
'Cause I gotta walk.
So I'm gonna have a piece I have to edit out of this.
You guys won't know that because you're not gonna hear it.
You're not
Yeah.
gonna hear it, but basically, because it's really funny, their dad barged in. And
I mean,
talked
you
about
can just keep it in there if you
Their
want.
dad barged in and talked about doing homework.
Homework. He thought that we were doing homework, and it was when I said that his trial was on in 1994. He's like, whose trial? And I was like, Jeffrey Dahmer's. And I was like, we're doing something now. Go. And he's like,
glad to see you're doing
glad to see
homework."
you're doing homework.
Yep.
Okay.
Homework. Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. You can find us on
SoundCloud,
YouTube,
and on our website.
on our
and
website, and
Twitter.
Twitter. 'Cause we're
And
on
Twitter.
If you guys have anything, if you guys have a story, like a murder you want us to like research
Or
and
like
talk
your
about,
own spooky
or
stories.
your own story that you want to talk about, were you murdered? Oh, wait, actually, I have something really quickly about the hitchhiking. So this is a really quick story that my mom has told me about when she and her friend were hitchhiking. So she and one of her friends, they were like, I think she told me they were hitchhiking home from like it wasn't a concert. Yeah, it was a concert. Because I told you about this.
Yeah, you did.
They were hitchhiking home from a concert, and this was when she was about, like, 15, so, like, around our age. And so she was, like, she got in this, like, she and her friend were hitchhiking, and it was really late at night, like, midnight. That's really late for me. But, and then this guy pulls over and, like, picks them up. And it's, like, literally as, like, they get in the car, because they both get in the back seat, they start to get this really, like, creepy vibe from this guy. And then he starts, like, asking, oh, where are you going? Where are you coming from? What are your names? Asking, like, a bunch of, like, questions, and my mom's just kind of, like, reluctantly, like, yeah. And then the guy, like, reaches for something, and her friends, they're, like, on the, like, her and her friend, and they're on the, they tuck and roll out of the car.
Yeet.
Because he goes and he looks like he's reaching for something, like, in his passenger seat, like, going towards, like, the glove box. And they both tuck and roll out of the car on a highway.
I would too.
Like they
Yeah, I would
they
do
had
the
this
same
creepy
thing.
vibe, and they just got out. And that's why
Yeah.
hitchhiking is not something that anyone should ever do. So
No.
that's like what I wanted to talk about.
Can I add a quick question?
Yes.
Like, hey, Alex, this question's directed at you.
Shout out to you, homeboy.
Shout out to you, homeboy.
No pressure or anything.
No, but like, do you think that it would be interesting, and anyone else who wants to comment on this segment, do you think it would be interesting if we did a video about our personal experiences, either paranormal or just creepy, or if you want to send in your own? Well, yeah, but I don't know, like if they think it would be
what
cool.
the reaction would be.
Oh yeah, if they think it'd be cool if we talked about our personal stories, because I know my mom has a murder story about a girl that
Yeah,
she knew
I
that
know.
got murdered. So I could talk about that. And there was a book series based off of her, because I remember Abby telling me about that. It's like, it's called like Finding Alexa or something like that.
Alexa, turn on the light.
No, it's something like that. That's
Turn the lights on.
you just hear a sound, and we're all like, what?
And the lights,
Screams.
and like,
the lights are already on.
I swear to God, I just saw that fan moving, but it wasn't moving. So I'm just
Okay,
saying
so we
things.
gotta end this episode, but yeah, if you guys
Yeah.
want any of that, like, tell us.
Let us know. Email us at sodemonspodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, guys,
Sorry.
we gotta wrap this up. This is gonna take a long time to get up.
Bye.
Okay, how are we gonna end this? Are we all just gonna go bye?
Yeah. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Felicia's.
Bye.
Goodbye.
That's creepy. That's gross.
Goodbye.
No.
That's how I'm ending it.